Hey there, my name is Terry Rice, and this is The Signal, which is brought to you by Fiverr. Today's guest is Daymond John, entrepreneur, investor, and founder of FUBU. Now, you know him from Shark Tank, but he's also behind Shark World, a platform that helps bold products break through by getting them in front of top influencers. Let's get into it. Daymond, how's it going?
Good. How you doing, man?
I'm good. And I want to say thank you very much for taking the time to chat with me today. You probably don't remember, but last year you invited me and my daughter to Black Entrepreneurs Day at
I do
Opal.
remember. I remember you. I remember you. I remember doing the interview. Everything was good, man.
Overall, you're just a very genuine person. I mean, I saw that you're cleaning up the beach in Miami just now while you're multitasking and doing grounding and chatting on the phone. So I'm just wondering, I mean, when do you get your flowers? Because I try to give them to you every time I talk to you, but like what kind of feedback or impact moments have stuck with you over the years to let you know that you're making a meaningful difference?
Well, thank you very much for giving me flowers and stuff. I think that when you do things with the hope of being acknowledged, I think that that's a long, lonely road. And it's not genuine. And no matter what, sooner or later that road will end because somebody won't acknowledge it fast enough. I don't know. I think now also that I learned a long time ago when we had given away a lot of money, money to people in the late '90s. We didn't advertise or market it because we felt that we were making money off the hardships of others. And why show, like when we gave money to Katrina victims and various other things that we gave clothes. And we had gotten a huge backlash about it. Oh my God, Poopa doesn't give. When then it felt dirty, but we had to acknowledge what we were doing. That taught me a long time ago that when you're doing kind acts, especially now with social media, you should do it not because you need the acknowledgement, but because hopefully you'll encourage somebody else to do a kind act. And I think that that's why sometimes you see what I do. I try to do 10 times more than what you may publicly see. But yeah, I guess that's my theory.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're helping a lot of people, so I appreciate that. And you've helped countless entrepreneurs both on and off of Shark Tank, obviously. But I'm wondering, when you're giving this help, what is one overlooked quality that you see in people who actually go the different distance? They actually take your advice and run with it.
The people that take my advice and run with it weigh their options and weigh if it works for them. They're neither one way or another. They don't go, advice. I'm looking for $1 million. I don't want to hear this crap. Or they don't go, advice. Oh, that's going to solve everything. They go, advice. I tried this. It didn't work. Maybe I should try that a little bit. He may be wrong. Maybe wrong for me. Let me weigh it. And by the way, I'm not going to just take Damon's advice. I'm going to listen to 17 other people.
Yeah, that's good feedback because, like, you see those memes on Instagram. Would you rather have lunch with Daymond John or like $1 million? So, what do you think people should choose if they get that option? Should they choose you?
$1 million. If somebody was smart, take $1 million and then go and spend 2 days looking at all my videos and take the $1 million and do something with it, because you would have gotten the same information if you dig deep enough and you would have gotten at lunch.
Yeah, so it would have been their expensive lunch that they gave it.
Exactly.
So let's double click on entrepreneurship more because on my end, I'm really fired up about AI, like a lot of people are, and I'm not using it to replace my voice or anything like that, but it does make things extremely convenient. And I feel like this is one of those inflection points in history where people can level up without necessarily having a lot of money or a college degree if they actually know how to use these tools. So, what are your thoughts on AI in general with entrepreneurs, and maybe what are we missing that we could be using to take better advantage of it?
Well, AI for everybody is the most important act of what's going to happen in our lives that we're living right now. AI for entrepreneurs is extremely is powerful. If 40% of entrepreneurs are dyslexic and dyslexics have a challenge with reading and communicating and writing it down, well, now dyslexics is going to run the world. Shout out to dyslexics, because now we're going to be able to just use AI and we're going to take over the entire planet. So I think AI is powerful, powerful. I think though, just like anything else, if you don't use the tool while it's coming aboard right now, you're gonna get left behind because the bridge and the gap is gonna get so big. And if you're just sitting around going, oh, yeah, it's new and it's cute, you don't use it, you're gonna be in trouble because I think about 80% of the things I say I'm wrong, my predictions, and that's fine because the 20% make me super successful. Um, but I do think that I used to say, the robots are not going to, take us over and or control our lives or replace us. And I was wrong about that. I think that right now you won't be replaced by AI. For the next year, 2 years, maybe even 3 years, you'll be replaced by somebody that knows AI. And after that, you will be replaced by AI. Um, so I think it's the key people right now that are focusing and they're face down, their heads are down. They're focusing on all this dramatic change that's happening right now that are going to benefit in the next 10 years. And after that, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. And I think the challenge with AI right now is some people are just trying to like invent use cases for it. Like, hey, here's this new thing that can help you find your left shoe. It's like, dude, just do whatever you were gonna do before and just use AI to make it like go faster. You know what I mean? So like I think that's the issue. It's like just think of tasks that can be commonly like handed off to AI and do that. Don't try to like reinvent yourself as some kind of tech whiz because that's gonna become very challenging.
No, absolutely, right? Just use it for your everyday. Listen, if I woke up in the morning and I didn't have to think about what I needed to eat that didn't have inflammation in it that wouldn't affect my acid reflux. I take a picture of my refrigerator, what the food is in my refrigerator, and it spits that out in 30 seconds. Well, I just probably saved a half an hour there. If I looked at my training schedule and said, here's what I was doing, but I want to activate these muscles, well, then I just saved another 20 minutes there. And if I wrote 4 social media posts that normally would take me 7 minutes apiece, which would be 28 minutes, but I did them all within 5 minutes. So I saved another. How much did I just save on my life just daily doing simple things? Or contemplating a letter that I think because I was pissed off at somebody or something they said to me, but I want to say it in a very respectful way, but get my point across. And I have all this anxiety and I've been thinking about it all day instead of spitting it out. How much did that save on my life that day?
Uh, So we have like 3 or 4 business ideas right now. I'm going to present one of them on stage at Black Entrepreneurs Day and try to get some money. But one you bring up a really good point with AI because yes, if you have a good narrative, a good point to get across, it can structure it better for you. But what I'm also seeing is people using AI to package horrible ideas in a way that sounds compelling, but I'm like, actually, no, it's still kind of stupid. So just because you're using AI to like sound smart doesn't mean it's a smart idea, and I think we have to like recognize that too.
Yeah, well, I mean, remember, right? The only thing that's more important than the information you're getting is the source that it's coming from. If an idiot is putting together the source, I mean, again, I think AI is just an enhancement of something, but at the end of the day, it's also going to make human interaction and knowledge of the being way more important, right? Because yeah, there's a bunch of college. There's a whole bunch of kids with great degrees who have great business, business profiles and ideas of what they're going to do, but they never sold one shoe, hat, or lotion or service. It looks great. The MIT is filled with people like that, but is the product actually going to work? The reality of it. So again, it goes back to the person at the end of the day, and that's where AI is actually going to. I think make human interaction more powerful because I'm not going to know if it's your voice. I'm speaking to you. Did you really write this until I physically see you and we can have a conversation? And I think that's a hidden gem with AI where the people that are ready to still physically go out there and put things in real use, whether it's communication, whether it's interaction, whether it's selling, they're going to really still be the rock stars.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, and that's why I like public speaking because AI has not replaced that just yet. But even today and in the past, you've spoken about the power of self-awareness and being willing to change. So I'm wondering, what is something that you used to believe as an entrepreneur that you had to unlearn?
It's been hard because for 17 years on Shark Tank, I have to remember what I thought about for the first 3 years and realize after that I had to unlearn because now I'm so conditioned by thank God, being out there on Shark Tank and being in the rooms of big corporations as well as the everyday blue collar worker, that I'm pretty much, it just reminds me of the fundamentals of what I know. Something about entrepreneurs that I would have to think that unlearned. It's not that I know everything by far. It's just what would I have to unlearn? It's really hard for me to come up with that. I'll be very honest.
Yeah. I'll give you an easier one then. So here we go. So we both have daughters around the same age and they're both aware of AI. How do you handle it when you can tell your daughter's using AI for her homework?
Well, we don't even allow our daughter to do voice to text because she's not going to learn how to read and write if that's the case. Now, the debate is, will kids need to do that? It's almost like, when I was growing up, you need to know how to learn to use a map. Well, do you really need a map these days with all this technology? Because where is the case where you actually technically will need a map? Well, in that case, the world's going to be, all power and all things and all technology will be down, and you'll have to utilize the map. But how long do I study and use that knowledge in my head when I know that GPS or all these navigation services are going to be there? So the question becomes, how much do we make our kids learn a second language when it's going to be translated, and or learn how to write, you know what I mean, when it's going to be there, and even learn how to read when it's going to be dictated to them, uh, against what do we replace with that? From the knowledge of learning how to code is different and various other things. So again, it is a debate. And right now what we do with our daughter is we tell her she cannot use auto dictation. She does have to research things, but AI is going to be the way that they research. Our daughters, my other oldest daughters are 25 and 30. They get offended when I say your 9-year-old little sister, you're a grandparent to her because you thought that I didn't know TikTok and dancing. Well, she's going to look at you like a dinosaur too because she's a AI native,
Yeah. 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 Yeah, you make a good point about the research because my daughter was researching a paper and she was talking to like the Google Nest like AI assistant. I'm like, no, you can't do that. I'm like, she's like, how do I look it up? I'm like, the other Googler, and she's like, Dad, like what, like what do you want from my life? So you get it.
Yeah, and then when they get avatars of various other things from people, one of my daughters said, I said, well, that you don't know if that's a real person or not. And she was like, but Daddy, that's the intent on what that person wants to be anyway. So aren't I seeing what their real version of them are or who they actually want to be? So if that person is this type of person, but this is the person they want to be, they're showing their intent anyway.
Let's keep going here because again, I have 4 kids. My oldest is actually 9. But what advice would you give to other entrepreneurs who are trying to balance out ambition? Because that's my drive as well, with also being present for their family.
Yeah, well, listen, I chop my day up by half an hour, so an hour. I make sure that, as I've shared plenty of times, I read my goals in the morning, and the goals all expire. There's 10 of them. They expire in 6 months, 6 of them, and then 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and 20 years. And in regards to ambition and spending time with your family, or spending time on what you like and love, if you aren't in total communication with it and with yourself, saying, "Hey, this is what I want to accomplish in 6 months, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years," and you wake up every day doing those things in the morning. If you don't do those things, making one call um, to this thing, or putting away this amount of money to know you want that vacation, or saying, I have a half an hour today to work out, or 2 hours today to spend with my daughter on homework. If you don't do those, when you wake up in the morning, we're so connected that we're actually disconnected from our lives, and we're waking up looking at these phones going, here's the plane, train, or Zoom, or automobile I need to be in. We're doing what everybody else wants. So the real core to that is I go to sleep every night reading these goals and this agenda of what I want to do. So when I go to sleep, that's what I'm thinking about. I'm dreaming about me doing, whether it's squats or push-ups or drinking a green drink or spending time, reading a poem with my daughter. And I'm waking up in the morning going over those same things. Those become my obsession. And throughout the day, I tend to go back to those things. It's really about training your mind to do these things that are most important.
I do, and my personal philosophy is live your legacy. So however you want to be remembered once you're gone, great, live that way now and you will, right? So living your legacy and you're actually chronicling it in advance. So you're saying like, this is the life I want to have. And it's like imprinting that in your brain and therefore you're living your legacy as well. So I can appreciate that. And I can't get through this part of the conversation without bringing up, again, this one time I saw you at South by Southwest, and you might remember the story. There was a woman in the crowd that taught at a school for dyslexic children. And she said, "Hey, can you just give them some kind of like encouragement, like anything just to make them feel better?" And you walked off the stage. You walked like 20 meters over to her and said, "Hey, get your phone out." And you made a video for this kid saying, "Hey, I know you're dyslexic, but guess what? That means you have a superpower. Do you know how many CEOs are dyslexic as well? So on and so forth. You have to work harder, and that's why you're smarter than everybody else. Don't give up ever." This was in 2018. And I still remember this to this day. So your legacy is just cemented just in that one story. And that's why, again, like I just appreciate the chance to chat with you because you're not making this up. Like you're the real deal. And those kids still remember it if I still remember it. So it's just incredible.
Well, I appreciate that, but at the end of the day, there's so many people like you and so many other people. I just have a louder megaphone and to get it out there. But I think that as we look at what will our legacies be, like you have poor kids, right? I end up saying to people, our kids didn't ask to be brought into this world, and if we're fortunate enough to be in your position, my position, Bill Cosby, Epstein, Weinstein, their children can't walk in a room and say who they are. And as much as we want to give our children the best in life, and we try to, we could also give them the worst in life if we don't create a strong legacy so they can get a fair shake when they walk into that room. And you don't have to be a famous, Daymond John or Terry. You can be somebody locally in the community who was known as either, lack of a better word, a piece of shit, or lack of a better word, a superstar. So it all depends on, the legacy that you want to leave your children. I'm at that point in my life. I'm no longer a 20, 30-year-old man thinking about how much money can I make or can I stay alive or stay out of jail because we were told that we were going to be dead or in jail by 21. Now I'm somebody who's been fortunate enough to have a very blessed life, and I know I have a bigger responsibility, so that's really, what you have to go to sleep at night thinking, are you okay with?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think most people don't have those conversations with themselves, and that's why they don't get to that point because they don't sit in the confusion long enough to find the clarity. And through your journaling, you're definitely following that, and I can appreciate that. And what I'm wondering though is like not like what's next, but like what would be surprised to know that you're thinking about or working on? And like I know you're close to Mario Armstrong, and he has this show now where it's like he's helping these up and coming musicians get the guidance they need, and Mario's a great dude, so it's great to see him do that. But I'm wondering, is there anything that you're thinking, even on the back burner, that people might be surprised to hear that you're interested in?
I've been pretty public about the things I'm working on. The three things that I'm working on right now is biohacking and longevity and bringing it to the masses where people understand that it's within your power to do small things every single day to increase your likelihood of living longer, and don't get intimidated by all these doctors and scientists and big pharma. There are very simple things that you can do, and don't get overwhelmed because with AI and various other things in the next 5 to 10 years, if they say that with technology coming around, if you want to live longer, there's no excuse not to live longer with the next 5, 10 years because of information. Because right now it's a wild west on, do I take this drug? I'm told you drink a glass of wine every day, you live longer. You don't drink, or all this stuff. But if you're ready to dig deep enough, you will be able to find accurate information. So longevity is number one. Number two is, I'm training myself on AI, live selling, and various other things. Somebody asked me the other day, they said, what do you do on your off time? And I had to really focus on it because I love to fish, I love to snowboard, I love to do stuff. I said, holy crap, you know what? You know what my hobby is now? Nothing. My hobby is I'm as hungry as I was for thirst of information the way that I was like when I was 27, 28, because I'm so busy focused on where this new world is going on live selling, AI, all this other stuff that I don't want to get left behind, that I've been so nose to the stone and head down. I don't have any hobbies besides educating myself because we're in the middle of a digital revolution. And number three is I've been taking on a passion of really bringing and highlighting artists, fine artists that have a heavy addiction, not the artists themselves, but this art community of kind of just highlight a lot of these people creating these beautiful works just to give them, acknowledgments, because it's crazy how artists have a high level of addiction in their community. And whether, we can talk about being a rock star or whether an athlete, if you don't make it being a singer or an athlete, you may be able to get a job as an agent, attorney, or whatever. These fine artists don't have anything, and what they still do is because their love of what they do, they still create. And then when they do make it somewhere, everybody's hoping that they die. So what I've been trying to do is highlight a lot of these fine artists that, out of their pain and suffering, and even their beauty and joy, they're the last bastion of free speech, and they also create these things that just make our lives more beautiful. So those have been my three kind of objectives, over the last 2 years or 3 years.
Yeah, and that's impactful. Yeah, especially with the artists, because I'm not a visual artist, but I consider myself to be an artist because I write and I create social media content, and it is addicting. It just is, because it's like you're expressing yourself and you get that feedback and you're like, okay, let's see what happened. I think it becomes a challenge when you have expectations for that feedback, because then you can't guarantee that. But I think it's amazing that you're supporting that community of people that are at risk of almost being left behind these days.
Yeah, thank you.
I don't want to keep you too long, but one thing I just realized is like just how resilient you are, and like there's a lot of stories I could tell to highlight that, but you already know them. But what I'm wondering is like when things fall apart, most people shrink or they hide. But what is your advice for showing up with strength when the pressure's at its highest?
That's a good question because, from the outside, you would look at me because of TV and all this and that, and be like, man, he's great. He walks on water, no problems, whatever the case is. But, we joke in my company and say, Willy Wonka's factory is extremely messy. There's a lot of chocolate around the damn factory. And, but we also thrive off of that. Um, I think that I think that first of all, as the key to entrepreneurship, I take affordable steps. Like I told you, I'm wrong 80% of the time, but don't mess with that 20. That 20 is on fire, right? I think that we take the responsibility of saying, what did I do wrong? Because anything that we do, I ask myself three questions: why me, why now, and why this? I think that what I like to do is, like my buddy Dan Fleischman would say, I like to fail in public. So I kind of manage expectations by saying, I don't know if I'm going to do that well. And before you know it, you turn around, you go, holy shit, look what you did. Well, I told you, don't fuck with me. I don't know if I'm going to do it, but I'm going to bet on the jockey. You know what I mean? Not the horse. Um, I think that we're resilient in my team and the people I'm around, but we don't take ourselves that serious. We don't let our egos get in the way. When we win big. When we lose, people go, well, you tried. And we go, yeah, we tried. I think it's just positioning. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like taking a half court shot. If you miss it, people are like, yeah, it's a half court shot. But if you make it, we're like, whoa, you just won a car.
Yeah, a lot of people, I think it's really the ego that gets in their way. I'm supposed to be this big person. How, I got to do it big when I launch it. Are you getting my Shark World box? If not, we got to make sure that we get your address to get the Shark World box. I'll explain why. I'll explain why. My wife said to me the other day, Daymond, we sent out this great box, a lot of good stuff in it to people like you and people in my network. She's like, Daymond, the box that it's in, a lot of good stuff in it, but she said the box is shit. This stuff is, the box, and then by the way, the box is even worse than you think. It says Shark World on it, but we bought these boxes at discount, so it says underneath the sticker, it says lithium batteries will kill you. So it's an old box, right? I said to my wife, I said, honey, that's the difference in entrepreneurship and the difference with entrepreneurship. What did I do in this box? So the last 3-4 months, I've sent out really great products to a lot of great people. They've gotten free products. So first of all, if you're going to complain about the box, it's free. So first of all, shut up. Second of all, it's great. We've proven that people like it. Hey, the company like to put in it. People appreciate it. By the way, I cleared out all my garage or shit I don't want. No problem. If I would have taken a box and I would have waited 4 months for a nice box to be designed. By the way, the website's not up, so you look on the QR code, there's nothing on there. Well, maybe this stuff didn't fit in that size of the box. Maybe the box is too heavy to ship. Maybe people didn't like it. Maybe I didn't like doing it. I'd have been sitting there with 10,000, 20,000 boxes and units sitting in there. 4 months would have passed and nothing would have happened. So She was like, "But you're the branding king." You know what? If you don't, it hits such a small group of people, 1,000 people. It doesn't matter. So what it is that we do stuff first, and we see how it works. And I think that that's what works out for us, you know. And if more people did that, Nike, just do it, act, learn, and then repeat, then people would be much more better off in life than saying, you know what, one day I'm going to start that business. One day I'm going to make up with my family. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think perfection could be the enemy of progress at times, and like just launch it and see what happens. So I'm aligned with you there. I'm sure the first few clothing items from a FUBU had a couple snags on the labor quiz like that. But Daymond, this has been great. I appreciate you. I appreciate your generosity. Just like my whole family's lighting up right now knowing I'm talking to you, especially my dog.
Yeah.
It's your best friends. So so thank you again for this. Thank you again for everything. I really do appreciate your time.
Well, thank you as always. Please send Zach over your information. I want to get you a box. And thank you. I know you're a dad of 4 kids, and thank you for always supporting me. And thank you for what you do, man. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks, Daymond. Jester.